Everyone. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Muhammad Naval Bintang. I'm from Department of Marine Engineering, Institut Teknologi 10 November, Surabaya, Indonesia. So the contents of this my video are I want to explain about general management, crew management, and also technical management in ship management. First, better we need to know about what is the ship management itself. According to Penny Yates in 2001, ship management is the function of taking care the ship such as manning, maintaining, supplying, ensuring, and also ensure that the ship is available to the maximum amount for the time possible. Okay, so according to presentation 10.1 with the title Ship Management by Mr. Saud Guning, there are 5 aspects in ship management, such as commercial management, general management, technical management, crew management, and also insurance management. As I said before, that I want to explain about 3 of 5 aspects in ship management. There are general management, crew management, and also technical management. Okay, first we move into general management in ship management. Okay, so when we are going to run a shipping company management, first we need to plan what the model of ship management company will look like. As we have seen in the data, which according to presentation 10.1, Mr. Saud explained that there are 3 models of ship management, which are different for each model. First is in-house management. In-house management is a situation when you manage the ship all of ship needs by yourself. This model is different with third-party management. So in second model, third-party management is a condition when you don't have a vessel, but you offer a ship management services from third parties like charterer, banker, or also ship owner. Okay, so the last one is hybrid management. In hybrid management, you can see that hybrid is a combination between in-house management and third-party management. Okay, so in this slide, I will explain about competitive advantage. According to Banach and Mr. Gray, in 1999, to attain market survival, competitive advantage is necessary and depends on expert statement. Stratmo and Holzer argue that it will be obtained when competitive advantage fulfill these few strategies. First is absolute cost advantage. In absolute cost advantage, you can see the situation where the production cost can be cheaper than other companies. But a company must achieve a reduction of its own cost in producing the ship management service to achieve it. Besides that, companies have to try to reduce their cost principally by relocating headquarters. And the second is differentiation. So this is the aspect in the form of differences advantage from other company management organization, which can increase competitiveness. Okay, so depends on expert statement again, Kotler and Bloom. Kotler and Bloom define that the differentiation in professional services that include the ship management is quite limited. This is because if we use a differentiation strategy like expense of service offering, it has a limited potential. Why it is a limited potential? Because it is not unique. And the second reason is it is can easily to get imitated by competitors. Because the last one is specialization. Specialization is quite important because the more specific we do in something, that means we more focus about what we did. Okay, as the example, I choose a cruise ship operation and planning for my general management ship management. Okay, so according to K. Wang in 2016, with the article's title Cruise Shipping Planning Research Opportunity, we know that since 1919, the cruise industry has 7.2% growth rate average and become the most exciting, also fast-growing industry in tourism industry. And it is luckily it is young in the current stage. That means this industry still can be growing bigger and bigger for each year. So for those of you who still don't know about cruise ship, here the definition about cruise ship itself. So cruise ship is a ship which carry the passengers in order to pleasure passenger voyage. Okay, so when we planning a cruise shipping operation, we require strategies that can have a long-lasting effect. So in cruise shipping, there are some important operation planning problems, maybe in the strategic or tactical level. So here the summaries of those operation planning according to Kai Wang articles with the title Cruise Shipping Planning Research Opportunity. So Kai Wang divide the cruise ship operation planning into 4 categories. First is cruise fleet management, second is cruise ship deployment, then cruise itinerary design, the last is cruise service planning. Okay, so we move into cruise fleet management. Okay, as we already know that cruise ship require quite intense maintenance. This is happen because cruise ship needs to maintain safety for the passenger, and also they need to ensure the long-term operation of the cruise ship run successfully. Okay, so from the diagram below, we can see that in 2012, cruise ship has an increasing fleet in the worldwide. And the last data I've got in 2019, cruise ship has 321 cruise fleet ship in the worldwide. But how to manage a cruise fleet ship liner itself? Okay, so to manage a fleet cruise ship liner itself, we need to know if the size of the fleet is related to the number of ships stored. Besides that, cruise fleet also need trained personnel. After we knowing about cruise fleet management, we need to know about cruise ship deployment. Okay, so for your information that to find a passengers, cruise ship usually change places depends on different season. This is also bring their own problems because they need to know how many cruise ship are deployed for those particular area. They need to know about how are the condition on board activities, and they need to know about how much the passenger capacity is needed. Okay, so as from the diagram below, we can know that Japan become the most cruise deployment and capacity in Asia, especially in 2019. Japan reached at least 2,681 calls to this port, and 83% of them are as a transit calls. The second position is mainland China with 109 port calls. The third position is Malaysia with 561 port calls. After that is Thailand with 550. Then is Singapore with 400. After that is Indonesia with 387. Then Vietnam with 368. After that is Taiwan with 304. Then India with 284. And the last one is Hong Kong with 255. Okay, so after we discuss about cruise ship deployment, now I will explain about cruise itinerary design. So the selection of the selection of travel routes in cruise ship fleet management is so an important things. Start from pick up the passengers at the home port, then heading to the port cities and finish to the destination port. In choosing a route, there are two types of route selection. The first is one-way route, and the second is loop route. So another factors in choosing these ship routes are as follows. First is home port selection. Second is port call selection, and the third is itinerary schedule design. So the choice of home port selection in a cruise ship course when the ship is relocated to a new market area. This home port serves to embark and disembark passengers. Second is port call selection. Port call selection is aimed to attract passenger. This happens because passengers also want to vacation and the beach, not only on board. So the selection of port call must be close to the itinerary. The last is itinerary schedule design. This selection aims to determine the location and also the time of the port call to be addressed in cruise ship. The last one is cruise ship service planning. So cruise ship service planning is necessary in cruise ship management because it is usually a service from a cruise ship depends on the number of days to across the cruise line. Previously, we have discussed about the cruise ship itinerary, which is a cruise service operated by a cruise ship. So to plan a cruise ship service, some considerations such as cruise itinerary selection and cruise itinerary changes are required. So after we knowing about general management, now I want to explain about crew management in ship management. Okay, according to John Griffith in 2005, with his title article is going to see co-creating the aesthetic. We can know that in ship crew management, crew selection is one of the most important things as well. Shipping management cannot just choose a crew because the crew can relate to the security of ship management service users and also the reputation of ship management company. So for this reason, only a trained crew is selected by a ship management. As the example, cadets need train at least 3 years before they can to be able go to sailing. The classification of cadets trainings for each year can be seen as the following table below. In the first year, cadet need to introduce the basics such as navigational concept, ship stability, seaman theory, or maybe cargo handling. After knowing the basic, in the second year, cadet is need to on-board training or practical parts with their supervisor by an officer. After that, in their third year, cadets shall reworking about what they have learned. What they have learned, and they need to prepare for the competence test. Okay, so a shipboard organization is similar to our government structure. That's why vessels have their own word. This is happen because in order to make the managing the crew more easier, to manage to make easier managing the crew, ship crew divided into several sections. First, those who expert in navigate the ship. Second, those who expert in machinery system, and the last is those who can manage the food. So the organizational chart of the vessel might help you better understand how the chain of command works on board. And the diagram depicts the several departments in charge of the ship, as well as their respective department heads. So each member of the crew performs their duties according to their ranks and also their job description. Okay, as we can see in the diagram beside, master is the highest rank in ship crew structure. Master need to manage these three chief. First is chief engineer. Chief engineer is a people or person who specializes in managing machinery system on the ship. Chief engineer need to manage second engineer, electrician, third engineer, fourth engineer, oiler, wiper, or and maybe cadets. Second is chief officer. So chief officer is a people or person who expert in navigating the ship. Chief officer need to manage second officer, third officer, bosun, able body, and cadets. Also ordinary seamen. The last chief is chief steward. Chief steward is the person who handle the food for the crew. So chief steward also need to manage second cook and messman. Okay, so the shipboard structuring make it simple for everyone to understand each person's level responsibility. Finally, by simply looking at the diagram, you might determine the level of pay for each seafarer. As the example, for junior engineer or tech cadet, and they can to get pay approximately from 350 until 750 USD in receipt, also in tanker. After that, for fourth engineer and third officer, they need to get paid from 2.4 thousand until 3.6 thousand USD in receipt, and also 2.6 thousand until 4.2 thousand USD in tanker. And for third engineer or second officer, they need to get paid approximately from 4,000 until 4.8 thousand USD in receipt, or 4,000 until 5,000 USD in tanker. After that, for second engineer or chief officer, they need to get paid at least from 6.5 thousand until 8.5 thousand USD in receipt, or maybe 7.5 thousand until 9.5 thousand USD in tanker ship. Okay, so the last one is captain. Captain need to get paid from 8,000 until 10,000 USD in receipt, or also 9,000 until 13,000 USD in tanker ship. All of those data I've got from perikanan38.blogspot.com. Okay, so finally we move into the last part or aspect in ship management is technical management. Okay, so for your information that ship crew training will generally refers to STCW or Standard of Training, Certification, and Whatsurfing. STCW is an international convention created to improve the professionalism standard. The professionalism standards need to improve shipping safety, security, and also service. So the types of qualification or training are required for each person depends on the position they applied for, or maybe the ship to be headed. As the following below is the types of qualification training. The first one is deck officer. Deck officer need some qualification training such as general radio operator, basic safety training, survival craft and rescue boat, advanced firefighting, medical first aid, medical care, radar, ARPA, electronic, chart display, and information system. Besides that, deck officer also need some qualification training such as ship security, bridge resource management, and security awareness training. Besides deck officer, deck rating also needs some qualification training, such as basic safety training, survival craft and rescue boats, advanced firefighting, security awareness, also rating forming of a navigational watch. From the deck, we move into engine. In the engine itself, there are two main qualification training. First is for engine officer and the second for engine rating. For the engine officer, they need some qualification training such as a basic safety training, survival craft, rescue, advanced surveying, medical first aid, medical care, and also engine room management. For engine rating, they need some qualification training such as basic safety training, survival craft and rescue boats, advanced surveying, medical first aid, medical care, and security awareness also. Rating forming part of an engine room watch. Okay, so the last qualification training is for catering department. Catering department is quite similar with deck and engine qualification training, but in catering department, they need some qualification, namely food handling. Okay, so for this slide, I want to explain about the impact of ship crew training. So, crew training is included in technical management. The result of the study states that researchers can analyze various problems that exist in the shipping education and training department, which related to the implementation of education and training in order to improve the quality of seafarers who work on ship. So, depends on Irina V. Gerasimova in 2013, the impact of training program can be defined as the following table below. First is training program can make the ship's crew better familiar with workplace safety management. The second is training program can make the crew better aware of the proper implementation methods and rules that must be followed. And the last one is training program can make the crew members might be informed of work processes and procedures. Okay, so in this slide, I want to explain about human capital. So, according to Yildiz articles in 2018, explained that So et al. In 2016 defined the human capital as KSA. What is the KSA? So, KSA is knowledge, skill, and abilities, which embodied in people, and it refers to this specification of employees in an organization that can facilitate new ideas and the innovativeness of him. Okay, so human capital management is similar to human resource management, but in principle, it is happen because the management and development of human capacities are research focuses more on expanding knowledge and skill, and that can help an organization or corporation to grow. A human capital elevates human resources to the level of valuable assets that are valued and advantageous to the organization into enterprise rather than just resources. So human resources can even be compared to an investment portfolio in terms of how they can be grown and multiplied as a valuable asset. As a result, human capital doesn't consider human resources to be a liability or an expense to that strengthens the organization's finance. Barron in 2011 also measured that human capital can be measured in five categories. First is talent management, second is reward, third is retention, fourth is motivation, and the last one is performance. Okay, so we already know about human capital. Now we need to now I want to explain more about human capital. So human capital is like financial resources and equipment, which is viewed as a valued asset with equal importance. Human capital is an intangible asset because it is comprised of knowledge, expertise, skills, and also creativity. So human resource with all of their combined features provide capital for a firm to boost productivity, produce professional service, and also to make profitable economic value. So I give the types of human capital there. The data which I've got from the www.jojonomic.com. So in human capital itself, there are 5 types of human capital. First is general management. So general management human capital is usually reserved for those who have a high position in the company. This general management human capital is related to managerial system, leadership, problem solving, or maybe good decision making. The second is strategic human capital. So strategic human capital can be identified as human capital expertise related to strategic matters. This capital can be in the form of pro-efficiency in various fields ranging from those related to finance, marketing, market, and so on. And the third types is industrial human capital. So industrial human capital can be identified as reliable skills in the technical field, regulation, and also control of customers and supplier in the industry sector. The fourth type of human capital is relationship human capital. In relationship human capital, a communication is the main key because communication can play an important role in establishing good relationship. So this point is applies to internal colleagues in the company as well as colleagues from outside. Okay, so the last types of human capital is company specific human capital. A company specific human capital is usually closely related for existing regulation and policies with some company. Therefore, maybe from one company to another company will have a different criteria or standard in this types of human capital. Okay, so the last materi is marketing. Marketing is very important because when a company is ready, marketing can achieve a company goal. Because marketing has a big task to find client or owners who need our services. Marketing can be called as the spearhead of a company. So that companies that have a good marketing will certainly experience significant development in a certain time. According to Payne and Mr. Gray in 1997, marketing the professional ship management service argue that marketing in ship management is divided into 3 subsections. First is marketing planning. Marketing planning has a job to find market and customer prospect. Second is marketing control. Marketing control has a job to monitor and manage all forms. And the last one is business development. Business development has a job to make improvement or development innovation. Even though it has been divided into several subsections, marketing still cannot work alone because it is interconnected with other departments. Without a harmonious relationship with another department, a marketing division will not be able to function properly. Okay, so from the previous material I've explained, the conclusion that I can conclude is the ship management is a complex sector because in ship management it requires a lot of calculation and also efforts. In addition, there are many considerations that need to be considered. However, this sector also a big opportunity because many sectors that can be used for. In the end, I hope that in a few years or maybe in first time Indonesia ship management can be better and growing higher. And I think that's all about presentation of ship management for me. I'm so sorry because maybe I made some mistake. Thank you very much and see you in another video.